All right, we're live now, so
All right,
take it
it's
away.
good. All right, game face on, guys. We're live. All right, folks. Thank you so much. Um, this is the meeting of the December meeting of the library board. Hang on. All right. Can we have a call to order, Angie?
Yes, yes. Mr. Biederman,
Present.
Mr. Bixby,
Present.
Dr. Jett,
Present.
Dr. Murtada,
Present.
Ms. Payne,
Present.
Reverend Robinson,
Present.
Judge Salinas.
Present.
We do have a quorum. Thank you.
Recognizing the quorum here, our first item is a manager's report. Maggie Ward, manager, will provide an update as far as outreach services that are going on in our community. Good evening, Ms. Ward. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, thank you for having me. It's great to be here. It's too bad I can't see you all in person. For those of you who have not met me, my name is Maggie Ward. I'm the manager of outreach services here at the Library Services Center. I've been with the library for over 6 years, and I've been with the outreach department for about 2 years. I'm going to share my screen so you can see my presentation real quick. All right, hopefully you're seeing my PowerPoint right now.
We are.
Excellent. So I just want to tell you a little bit about our department, who we are, what we do, and how we've adapted our services during the pandemic. So our department is made up of 13 staff. We have 8 full-time staff members, 4 part-time, and 1 hourly page. We are a team of 5 people on the bookmobiles and 3 people in the circulation department. And we have an hourly page, of course, and various other people in the department running our On the Road to Reading program, which is part of the Early Literacy Program Initiative. So how do we serve our patrons? Well, we are a mobile department, so we are out and about on the road every day, 5 days a week. This map here shows all of our locations that we serve in the county. We currently go to over 200 sites a month. That number fluctuates right now with the pandemic as some sites are closed for COVID reasons, et cetera. But we've been maintaining contact with the majority of our stops. We have our bookmobile routes, which are biweekly stops at various community locations across the county, including some preschools, daycares, schools, senior assisted living centers, and community apartments. We also visit the Fort Benjamin Harrison YMCA. We have the On the Road to Reading program, which is our early literacy initiative program. We have 3 part-time storytellers who go around to daycares throughout the county that are in the Paths to Quality program. We work with programs that are in levels 1 and 2 to help them graduate to level 3. We also have our bunny bag and juvenile collection delivery routes, which our circulation team handles. They go to daycare, schools, and preschools across the county to deliver bunny bags and totes of paperback books to kids once a month. And we've also taken on helping with the Library Express program, which is our services to homebound patrons. We started helping with that as the pandemic became, an issue in March. And we have taken over a lot of deliveries to some of our homebound patrons if we don't have volunteers to help them. And we have also changed the program to be a first stop of delivery if we don't have volunteers ready for a match right away. So we've taken on about 10 patrons currently with that, but we fluctuated between 20 and 30 at the start of the pandemic. And now we just take on new patrons whenever there's no volunteer available. So, and as I mentioned, we're visiting over 200 sites. Over 65 sites are bookmobile stops, and about 60 of those are on the road to reading. We have over 80 sites for our bookmobile bunny bag and juvenile collection sites. And as I mentioned, about 10 homebound patrons at the moment. So how we've adapted in the pandemic, we've switched a lot of things around, of course, to keep our patrons and our staff safe. The biggest thing we've done is contactless delivery. So for all of our stops, we've coordinated with our contacts to leave the items outside or switch out bags outside so as to not have contact with the children in the daycare or the staff in the daycare, etc. This has worked out really great, and all of our patrons have worked well with this, and our homebound patrons have also appreciated this service because many of them are high risk. So it's been a great service for them to still get their materials, but not have to worry about exposure. We've modified our bookmobile service, so we only allow 1 patron at a time on the bookmobile, and masks are required, of course. We have a pickup table set up outside of the bookmobile, so patrons who are just returning items and getting their holds can just quickly come out to the table and go back inside and not have as much exposure. And of course, like I mentioned, we've been doing homebound delivery, not just for the Library Express patrons, but for high risk and any patron who is homebound for any current reason due to the current situation. We have taken in short-term delivery programs for patrons who just needed a short-term stop of their materials to their house while they waited for either things like the Lawrence branch to reopen, or they were homebound due to surgery, etc. And our On the Road to Reading program, which was probably the biggest program that had to switch their routines for the pandemic, they took what was in an in-person story time and created a kit instead, which had books, activities, a template for story times that we put all in one bag, and we deliver that once a month. It has a different theme each month. We deliver those to our daycare sites, and we have the storytellers recording virtual story times that we then load online. And that's been going really well, and we've had a lot of great feedback from our sites from that. So the future of outreach services, who knows what's next? We're just kind of waiting to see what the next development will be with the pandemic. But so far, we've been rolling with the punches and changes pretty well. And we just look forward to hopefully serving our patrons the best way we can. And that is it for me. Thank you for allowing me to speak to you tonight.
Hang on, Ms. Ward. Do we have any questions from the board members?
Just wanted to commend you for the adaptation that you've made and the kinds of changes you've made, even to virtual story time and posting it in a way that is more accessible. Thank you so very much. The Juvenile Collection, can you say a little bit more about that?
Sure. So if you're not familiar with our bunny bags, that is a program where we have—
I'm familiar with the bunny bags. I had children who were dealing with the bunny bags.
Marvelous. So we have that, and then we also have totes full of paperback books ranging from the early readers, what we call our Jay-Z collection, to chapter books. And those totes are filled with about 75 different books, and we can take those to daycare, so that way any of the kids that are a little older than 5 years old in their early grade school, there's a variety of things to match their reading level for them to choose from. And then they get a new tote each month.
I thought when you said Juvenile Collection, I didn't connect it with the bunny bags. I was thinking, wow, we're doing something with juveniles who are in the delinquent centers, in the centers. And I thought that's an amazing thing. Hopefully there might be something that we can talk about at a future time in regards to how do we support young people who are in our centers that are really looking towards still reading and could possibly be supported.
Yeah, I had a lot of plans for 2020 and the pandemic put a halt on those, but I look forward to hopefully connecting with new sites and new patrons in the future.
I can imagine.
Can you say something about the number of volunteers that you have?
So currently in our department, we just have a few volunteers who work in our offices to help us manage the bunny bag collection. But Nancy Stevenson oversees the volunteer services department, and she has her Library Express volunteers. I can't remember off the top of my head how many volunteers she currently has, but I know it's close to 15 to 20 volunteers. And those volunteers all spend their time working with their patron match and placing items on hold and doing deliveries to their homebound patrons.
Thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ward. I appreciate that. I'm sorry. Does the board have any other questions or comments with respect to the presentation by Ms. Ward? See none. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you.
All right, we'll move on to item 4. In lieu of the extreme emergency facing our city and in keeping with the executive order issued by the governor, the public will not be invited to physically attend this meeting, but has the ability to listen or view the regular meeting via live stream on YouTube, or public comments can be made in person at the Library Service Center or submit in writing in advance at the website there. Now, Jackie, I believe we do have one person who's at the Library Service Center for public comment, correct?
We do have one signed up to speak, yes.
Okay.
Molly and Bethany together, I believe.
Okay.
Hello,
Hey,
I'm Molly. I'm actually at home. I am the president of the Staff Association for the Indianapolis Public Library, and I've invited Bethany to attend as well. She's our current vice president and will be taking over for me next year. Bethany, go ahead and introduce yourself if you would like.
Hi, my name is Bethany Allison, and I am a librarian at the Michigan Road Branch. And Molly and I have had a very interesting year being staff association leaders during this interesting year.
welcome.
Thank you. I've attended several board meetings, but just for our new attendees today, I'm Molly. I'm at the Central Branch. I'm the supervisor librarian for the Page team. I've been with the library. This was my 5th year, and I've very much enjoyed my time. The 2020 pandemic definitely changed our goals for staff association, but we were able to do quite a bit despite the pandemic. I want to congratulate Bethany and my executive board that have helped to make the changes necessary to have successful fundraisers this past year. One of them being our annual summer reading t-shirts that we sell, in addition to the read t-shirts that are still available. If you would like to purchase them, they are $15. And most recently, we had a pet calendar fundraiser to benefit our scholarships. And we're still able to distribute those to our colleagues who meet the qualifications, and we're honored to get them. I don't have the names right now. Again, I'm at home, but we will be doing an annual report along with an introduction next January on the winners this past year. So that was essentially the Staff Association in a nutshell this year, and it was a great time. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Molly. Does the board have any questions for either Molly or Ms. Allison?
No questions, but thank you for featuring my precious Scooby.
Thank you for submitting them.
All right, thank you both. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Jackie, we don't have other members of the public that want to speak, correct?
Not that I'm aware of, Judge.
Okay, we'll move on to item 5, approve of the minutes, executive session, regular and special session. The regular minutes of the November 23rd, 2020 minutes are enclosed. I'm assuming we all had a chance to go over them. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of the regular meeting held November 23rd, 2020? Please.
So
So
moved.
moved.
All right, one's a second and one, okay.
Carry.
All right, Angie, can we have a call on the roll, please?
Yes, Mr. Biederman,
Approved.
Mr. Bixby,
Approved.
Dr. Jett,
Approved.
Dr. Murtada,
Approved.
Ms. Payne,
Approved.
Reverend Robinson,
Approved.
and Judge Salinas.
Approved.
Thank you.
All right, the motion carries. We did also have our annual meeting on November 23rd, 2020. And the minutes have also been provided of that annual meeting. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of the annual meeting that was held on that same day, November 23rd, 2020?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Angie, can we call the roll, please?
Mr. Biederman,
Approved.
Mr. Bixby,
Approved.
Dr. Jett,
Approved.
Dr. Murtada,
Approved.
Ms. Payne,
Approve.
Reverend Robinson.
Approved. I'm sorry.
Thank you. Judge Salinas.
Approved.
Thank you.
Motion carries, and I apologize. We had minutes from one other session, which was an executive session. Actually, we don't have them. No, that was.
We have 2 executive sessions. We have one on December 1st and December 7th.
Oh, I got you. Okay. Can I combine them together? Is that okay, Angie?
If you do them separately, since we ought to get a roll call vote for.
Okay, fair enough. All right, we have 2 executive sessions, one from December the 1st, 2020. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of that executive session?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, Angie, can we have a roll call, please?
Mr. Biederman,
Approved.
Mr. Bixby,
Approved.
Dr. Jett,
Approved.
Dr. Murtada,
Approved.
Ms. Payne,
Approve.
Reverend Robinson,
Approved.
and Judge Salinas.
Approved.
Thank you.
Last one, I promise, I think. All right, we have another executive session for December 7th, 2020. Is there a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved.
There's a second.
Second.
All righty. Angie, can we have call the roll, please?
Mr. Biederman,
Approved.
Mr. Bixby,
Approved.
Dr. Jett,
Approve.
Dr. Murtada,
Approved.
Ms. Payne,
Approve.
Reverend Robinson,
Approved.
Judge Salinas.
Approved.
Thank you.
Motion carries. We will move on to the committee reports. Number 6, the Finance Committee. Dr. Payne.
EJ, are you there?
I am. Good evening,
I'm so
everyone.
happy.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening. We have 4 items today. I'm going to go over very, very briefly our treasurer's report, and I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have. For November, we had a pretty typical month. We're starting to go back to normal expenditures. We had almost 3.3 million in expenditures for the month of November, and year to date, 36.1 million year to date. That is 73% of our revised budget. At this time last year, we had spent 81% of our budget. So we did see some savings, as you guys know, from the shutdown, and that continues to be the case. We haven't spent more in these later months. We'll see in December, but we project that we will end with a surplus for the year. Also on the revenue side, we anticipate that we will collect at least 96.5% of our property taxes. Our collections this month were a little bit lower than what we typically would collect in our November advance. But we've talked to the treasurer's office, the Marion County Treasurer's Office, and they say that we've collected 96.5% countywide, which we should have the same because we have the same taxpayers. We've collected 71% of our budgeted revenues so far year to date, and this time last year we had collected 74%. So there's a slight difference, but we're still projected to end in a surplus. There is one thing to note. If you're looking at page 30 of our treasurer's report, which is a summary of our operating fund, you'll see a negative for our supplies. That is because we received a reimbursement for some of our COVID expenses from the CARES Act fund, $172,000. So we then, we were required to account for this in a different fund. So we've transferred those expenses from the operating fund to this CARES Act fund. And so that's why there's a negative there, in case anyone was wondering about that. Other than that, everything is pretty typical. We do have bond proceeds now from the bonds we sold. So you will see that when you're looking at our cash balance as well. I'll take any questions anyone might have.
Thank you for sharing some good news.
Yes.
No problem. If no questions, I'll ask for a motion to approve the November Treasurer's Report for audit.
So moved.
Is there a second? I'm sorry, Chris. The second. Angie, can we have a roll call the roll, please?
Mr. Biederman,
Approved.
Mr. Bixby,
Approved.
Dr. Jett,
Approve.
Dr. Murtada,
Approved.
Ms. Payne,
Approved.
Reverend Robinson,
Approved.
Judge Salinas.
Approved.
Thank you.
Okay, our next item 6B, Resolution 57, 2020 is asking for your authorization to renew our coverage, our insurance coverage for the director and officers liability insurance, as well as our employment practices liability coverage. We have Martin, we call him Marty, Deslin, here with us, and he will explain a little bit about the policy. You guys renew it every year, but we like to tell you about it because it is coverage that covers you. So he's here, and Marty, if you would take it away.
Okay. Can you all hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, great. First of all, before I start talking about directors and officers liability coverage, Miss Payne, my mother is a avid quilter, and she would love the quilt behind you. It's beautiful. Is that your handiwork?
I wish I could claim it. No, my daughter sent it to me. Send me your mother's information, and I'll tell her where to get it.
I will send you a note. Thank
Paul's
you.
in the library business.
Your directors and officers liability insurance policy is currently with carrier CNA, and it renews on January 1st. Most everybody here is a lot of new faces, so I'll back up for a second and let you know that the rest of the library's insurance, your property and other liability policies, renew on August the 1st. So in anticipation of the January 1 renewal for the directors and officers liability, did I say August 1st? Sorry. Your other policies renew August 1st. And in anticipation of the January 1 renewal, we've asked CNA to extend the current policy to August 1st so that we can get to concurrent renewal dates. They offered terms to extend that policy by 7 months. In addition, your property and liability carrier, Travelers, had asked if they could offer terms for your directors and officers in employment practices liability. And so they put together a proposal that does offer some coverage enhancements that I talked briefly about, but is also significantly more expensive than the CNA renewal. And after talking through the pros and cons of the enhancements, as well as the additional cost, EJ and Jennifer and I just came to the conclusion that with everything going on within the library, the pandemic and getting the year closed out, and thinking about getting back up and running and hopefully a new normal next year, that the best course of action would be for us to extend the CNA policy to August 1st, communicate with CNA about potential enhancements to their coverage, while also having time to do a deeper and more intense evaluation of the option that Travelers has brought to the table, so that we just had more time to do, really engage in a cost-benefit analysis, and make an informed decision rather than try to rush something at the end of the year. So our recommendation, again, is to extend the CNA policy to August 1st, continue conversations with them about potential coverage enhancements, do a deeper dive into the options that Travelers proposed, so that when we get into the summer months, we can have a little bit more luxury of time to evaluate and have this conversation again next year. With that, I'll pause and take any questions that you might have. And if you don't have any questions, I can talk about some of the things that Travelers was offering.
Does the board have any questions so far?
Okay, so just to frame things, your directors and officers liability policy is policy protecting not just the board, but also staff against claims about your stewardship of the organization. So this is not your typical general liability, which is bodily injury and property damage. This is protecting you against claims, again, about your stewardship of the organization. In addition to directors and officers liability, this policy carries employment practices liability, which again protects the board and staff from employment-related claims like unfair termination, age discrimination, race discrimination, et cetera. That is the portion of the policy and coverage that for all entities tends to be accessed more than the standard directors and officers liability. And we have seen an escalation in employment practices claims in the past few years as we just become more and more of a litigious society. So the two things that Travelers has brought to the table that were very interesting were on the defense cost side of things, higher limits for the cost of defending the organization, as well as an offer to have your current Travelers umbrella cover over the directors and officers liability policy, therefore bringing you the benefit of your $10 million umbrella. Having an umbrella cover over a D&O policy is not a normal, usual thing. That's an unusual offer from Travelers, which can be good. I would tell you one of the things that we really want to weigh, and I'm glad Robert Scott is on the call, is because I think one of the most important conversations about the cost benefit of Travelers versus CNA would relate back to state tort liability protections that public entities are afforded, and just really, I think, engage in a conversation with Robert and his team about the benefit of the cost of that umbrella covering over when you have your liability protections from the state. And so while what Travelers offered is clearly good, we're just not 100% convinced it's absolutely necessary coverage. And so those are the conversations we'd like to dive into in a little bit more detail as we get into the summer. Okay.
Does the board have any questions? Okay. EJ?
Yes, I did want to make a note. We have a typo in the resolution, so I wanted to get your consent to correct the typo. As Marty mentioned, we are asking for a shorter coverage period from January 1st, 2021 to August 1st, 2021. And the resolution says 2020. So I would ask for your consent to correct that before approval.
So granted.
I don't know if we need a roll call on that, but.
Robert, can you let us know if we need, I don't think we need to have a roll call on the correction.
You don't on this.
I'm fine with that Scribner's error correction.
Okay, thank you. And with that, I'll ask for your approval for us to renew the D&O and the employees' practices liability insurance coverage.
Is there a motion from the board?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Angie, can we have a call to roll, please?
Mr. Biederman.
Approved.
Mr. Bigsby.
Approved.
Dr. Jett.
Approved.
Dr. Matata.
Approved.
Ms. Payne.
Approved.
Reverend Robinson.
Approved.
Judge Salinas.
Approved.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Marty, for that. Our next item 6C, is Resolution 58, 2020. This is our transfer between classifications and accounts. As you guys know, if we needed to transfer items between our major budget categories, we need to get approval from you guys. So this is asking for transfer from other services and charges to supplies. And this is in order to cover some additional purchases of PPE, also for various digital social media and repair items for the year.
Usually, are we going to be hurting in those areas we're moving the money from, or we're going to be okay?
Oh, yeah, we're going to be fine. We have sufficient budgets in those areas, so we won't be hurting.
Does the board have questions on this motion? Hearing none, is there a motion from the board to approve Resolution 58, 2020?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Angie, can we have a call the roll, please?
Mr. Biederman.
Approved.
Mr. Bigsby.
Approved.
Dr. Jett.
Approved.
Dr. Murtada,
Approved.
Ms. Payne,
Approved.
Reverend Robinson,
Approved.
and Judge Salinas.
Approved.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our last item is, let me get to it. Item 6D, which is Resolution 59, 2020. This is probably the first you guys are seeing of this sort of transfer for many of you. This is asking for a transfer from our operating fund to our rainy day fund to replenish some of the funds that we spent over the years. I think we ended 2016 with a balance in our rainy day fund of 6.5 million. We're now down to a balance of 5.5 million approximately. So this is to transfer some of the one-time expenditures that we saw, the one-time savings that we saw this year, and transfer it to the rainy day fund in order to help us in future years when our budget is a little tighter, our capital improvements and our repairs and maintenance type item. One more thing is that we are allowed to transfer up to 10% of our original budget amount per statute from all funds except for the debt service fund into the rainy day fund. So we are permitted to do this. And the amount is $4 million.
Do we have any questions from the board?
Just a quick one. How do you come up with the 4 million figure?
4 million. 1 million is
1 million. It's 1 million.
Okay.
So I apologize. The 1 million is basically because we're projecting, which might change. We're projecting that we will have a surplus of about 2 million at the end of the year. And so it's just moving a little bit of that surplus. And so we thought 1 million, we're down 1 million from 2016. So we thought we would replenish that 1 million amount.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Do we have other questions from the board? Seeing and hearing none, Angie, can we have a call of the roll on
Can we get-
resolution? I'm sorry.
Do
We need
get
a motion.
You need a
Oh,
motion.
you know what? I apologize. I got ahead. I have myself. Is there a motion to approve resolution 59, 2020? Thank you, Robert.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Now, Angie, can we have a call the roll on resolution 50, 2020?
Mr. Biederman,
Approve.
Mr. Bigsby,
Approve.
Dr. Jett,
Approved.
Dr. Murtada,
Approved.
Ms. Payne,
Approved.
Reverend Robinson,
Approved.
Judge Salinas.
Approved.
Thank you.
Motion carries.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
All right. We now go to, give me 1 second. To item 7, diversity, policy and human resource committee, Pastor Robinson.
Thank you, Judge. We appreciate it. Tonight we have Catherine, our HR director, with us, and I'm going to turn it over to Catherine to lead us in this discussion.
Thank you, Pastor Robinson. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I'd like to, our first item agenda is our annual review of the acceptable use policy. And this is a resolution. It's an annual document. And I would like to invite Deb Champ to present this for the last time.
So there's Indiana. Hi, everybody.
Hi.
There is, Indiana code requires that the Board of a Public Library review the policy we have in place for internet and other computer net use for the public for the library. The acceptable policy has been in place for a number of years, and it's there to communicate acceptable computer use, user behavior to patrons, to provide disclaimers of liability, like don't do your banking on a public PC. And also it gives the staff tools to help in patron modification if need be. So we just need the board to review and approve the acceptable use policy for 2021.
Any major changes from last year's?
None.
Does the board have any questions with respect to this request? Seeing none, is there a motion? Oh, did you want to hand this, Pastor Robinson? I'm sorry.
Nope.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm frozen. Can you hear me? I'm frozen, but so moved.
No, we can hear you.
We can hear you.
Yeah.
All right. Is there a motion to approve resolution 60/2020?
So moved.
There's a second?
Second.
Been moved and second. I guess any further discussion on the matter? Seeing none, I forgot that process and all the other resolutions. I'm sorry, folks. Angie, can we have a call to roll, please?
Mr. Biederman,
Approve.
Mr. Bigsby,
Approved.
Dr. Jett,
Approve.
Dr. Machado.
So approved. I want to move too.
Ms. Payne,
Approve.
Reverend Robinson,
Approved.
and Judge Salinas.
Approved.
Thank you.
Hey, Judge.
Yes.
I would just like to say to Deb that we just have enjoyed working with her, and we thank you for all the contributions you've made to the library.
Thank
Amen.
you.
Amen to
And to
that.
our committee.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Deb.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah.
You guys stay safe.
Amen to that as well.
Yeah.
Take care of yourself.
You too.
Next item on the agenda is the 2021 appointment list. This is an annual resolution that I bring to you each year that lists the full-time, part-time benefit eligible staff, historically referred to as board appointed, and hourly, which is the non-benefited eligible staff of the library. This is a list based on the salary structure that was approved by you at the November meeting and includes all of the staff listed by job title and their new 2021 pay rates. I would ask that Resolution 48 2020 replace the number 61 2020 that was incorrectly identified as the salary or the resolution with the pay grades from the November board meeting. So thank you. Does
Okay.
anyone have any questions?
What was the new resolution number?
Instead of 61 2020, it should be 48-2020. Thank you.
In the description of the resolution in the board action request, it just generally describes the action that's being sought. It references resolution 61 2020, and that reference should be to resolution 48 2020.
Okay. Okay.
That does not impact the actual resolution itself.
I got you. Does the board have questions? Ms. Kathleen, on this motion, on this request? Seeing none, is there a motion from the board to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? So Robert, is this going to be is resolution 48-2020 then? Or 61?
It's 61.
Okay.
Yeah, the resolution did not change.
Okay. Angie, can we have a call to roll on resolution 61-2020, please?
Mr. Biederman,
Approve.
Mr. Bigsby,
Approved.
Dr. Jett,
Approved.
Dr. Murtada,
Approved.
Ms. Payne,
Approved.
Reverend Robinson,
Approved.
and Judge Salinas.
Approved. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. We'll go to item 8, Facilities Committee, Dr. Jett.
Okay, we have 3 resolutions, which all pass through committee, do pass, but I'll go through each one and entertain a motion to approve. So, and we have Mike Coughlin here to answer any additional questions. So beginning with the first one, Resolution 62, 2020, approval to award a construction manager as constructor services contract for the Glendale Branch Replacement Project. And the recommendation is to award this to Powers and Sons Construction Company. And this resolution was approved by the Facilities Committee, which met on December 8th.
So do we need a
Yes.
motion in a second?
Dr. Jett would make a motion. You don't need a second.
Okay, just to call the roll then, right?
Okay, so I'd like to make a motion for approval.
Okay. Okay. Any further discussion on this or questions of Dr. Jett?
Can I add, Powers is a Black-owned company? Is that, thank you.
Yes. They are also handling our West Perry branch.
Okay, thank you.
Any additional questions from the board members? Okay, Robert, I don't need a second, right?
That's correct.
All right, Angie, can we have a call to the roll, please?
Mr. Biederman,
Approve.
Mr. Bigsby,
Approved.
Dr. Jett,
Approve.
Dr. Murtada,
Approved.
Ms. Payne,
Approved.
Reverend Robinson,
Approved.
Judge Salinas.
Approved.
Thank you.
Motion carries.
Okay, the next resolution is 63. And this is approval to award a construction manager as constructor services contract for the Fort Benjamin Harrison Branch Project. This is to be awarded to the Skillman Corporation and in a joint venture with Davis and Associates. And this also passed through the Facilities Committee. Do pass. I'd like to make a motion for approval.
Is there any discussion on this particular motion from the board?
Can I ask one question?
Of course.
Terry, when it says Skillman with the subcontractor, how do we check to make sure that that is in place in terms of the subcontractor? Is there some kind of report that comes to us? Or I see Jackie shaking her head yes, and I see Mike also.
I'll let Mike answer or Jackie. Yes, it was a joint venture that was submitted.
Yeah.
Mike, would you like to explain that further?
Yes, the proposal identified them as a joint venture and that they would both work together. The library worked with Davis Associates a little over 20 years ago. They were the contractor for our College Avenue branch. We're looking forward to working with them again.
Thank you very much.
I'm going to piggyback on Dr. Payne's question. It's important to do some follow-up with these as far as subcontractors to make sure they're abiding by the contract, especially if the subcontractor is minority owned. We want to make sure they're holding up their end of the bargain.
Right.
Any further questions or discussion?
No, I do
questions or discussions. I'm sorry, Dr. Jett.
I'm sorry. I just want to say that Jessica Moore has also been participating in these processes.
Very good. Very good.
Further discussion? Seeing none or hearing none. Angie, can we have a call to roll, please, on this resolution?
Mr. Biederman,
Approve.
Mr. Bigsby,
Approved.
Dr. Jett,
Approve.
Dr. Murtada,
Approved.
Ms. Payne,
Approve.
Reverend Robinson, and
Approved.
Judge Salinas.
Approved. Motion carries. Dr. Jett.
Okay, the last resolution is 64, 2020, approval to award an equipment purchase order for the automated material handling system for the West Perry Branch Project. And the Facilities Committee recommends board approval to award an equipment purchase to PV Supa Incorporated in Plano, Texas for the West Perry Branch Automated Material Handling System for the total cost of $168,460. So this also passed through the Facilities Committee, so I'd like to make a motion for approval.
Any discussion on the motion or questions? Seeing or hearing none. Angie, can we have a call on the roll on this motion, please?
Yes, Mr. Biederman,
Approve.
Mr. Bigsby,
Approved.
Dr. Jett,
Approve.
Dr. Murtada,
Approved.
Ms. Payne,
Approved.
Reverend Robinson,
Approved.
and Judge Salinas.
Approved.
Thank you.
Motion carries. Dr. Jett, further matters on your committee?
No, that is it.
We go to item 9. We stay with you, Dr. Jett, the Strategic Planning Committee.
Oh, I thought the,
Oh, hang on, Mike. Did I miss something?
oh, okay. For some reason, I thought the foundation was next, but okay. All right, we have Garrett who will provide an update on the strategic plan.
Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Let me see if I can share my screen with you guys. Okay, can you guys see this one pager?
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
So this is, we just wanted to provide a quick summary on sort of where we're at in the process. So this provides a one-page summary of sort of the content of the plan that we've established so far. So, and then once I go through this briefly, I just want to touch on the process very quickly, see if any members of the board have any questions about that. So we established both our mission and our vision. And those were just slightly altered from the previous versions of our mission and vision to make sure that we were incorporating language about including everyone instead of building community, strengthening communities. Then a recent development is the identification and inclusion of organizational principles. So after some discussions around our values and some things that we wanted to make sure we were including, the IndyPL steering committee, which is made up of about 30 staff members, with the idea of creating organizational principles, intellectual freedom, service, privacy, access, information, and literacy. So these are sort of an umbrella over our values and our priorities. These are very foundational to public libraries. These will be discussed in the plan in a narrative manner. We'll talk about them. We'll talk about, we had a conversation with the board committee about intellectual freedom and how we want intellectual freedom to be conveyed, that we want to make sure that it's conveyed in a way that doesn't provide a shield for undesirable language, that we want to make sure it is intellectual freedom that is inclusive. Dr. Jett and Dr. Murtada drove a lot of that conversation. And so if they have anything to add on that piece, they can do that.
In and out.
Yeah. And so those are umbrellas. And then our values, so our values, a lot of discussion around these. Racial equity, diversity, inclusion, communication, and adaptability. And so each of these items will be actually defined. They were defined by again, the staff steering committee. And so these items will have those created definitions listed in the plan. And then we decided around our strategic priorities. These were largely driven by our community surveys. So we had 40, after a couple of different rounds of distribution of our community surveys, we had 4,603, I think is the number of community surveys that we used to inform this. And then we continue to shape it in the steering committee. And then the board committee helped to talk about how they wanted to see this, our priorities communicated. So our sort of big three are racial equity partnerships, and information and literacies. And then racial equity and partnerships are pervasive in all the efforts that we want to undertake. But we felt the need to create sort of additional areas of identified focus under information and literacies. And those are technology and the digital divide, education, reading and writing, health and wellness, and then financial. We felt like all that sort of lent itself to, technology literacy and financial literacy and health and wellness literacy. So that's how we got there. And then an additional piece that'll be included in the plan is there'll be several measurables that will be included, and all those measurables have sort of an external view. They're community impact metrics that we think will help us determine whether or not we're delivering on the items in the strategic plan, whether or not we are hitting our priorities and upholding our values and those things. So, it's been a long process to date with a lot of different sort of changes and turns. We've had to put out the survey a couple different times and have some focused efforts around the survey because we had some underrepresentation around some minority communities, specifically the Latinx, Hispanic, and African American communities. Didn't really yield the bumps in those numbers that we were hoping for, and so we decided to talk with it was 7 or 8 community partners like Immigrant Welcome Center, Planner House, the Martin Christian Center, partners like that, to make sure that sort of the direction we were headed fit what they were hearing from their constituents and from the community. We got very positive feedback around that. So that's where we're at. So that's sort of the big pieces of the plan. And now we have to build a little bit more of the sort of content around it. And we're still working on shaping the metrics and those targets around the metrics. So I think the ideal timeline is we'll have the largest part of the meat of the plan ready for full board to look at next month. We would get approval on that, hopefully. Then it would be the sort of design phase where myself and our director of communications and Jackie work with a graphic designer to sort of create the final product. But we definitely want to try and have the meat ready for board approval next month, if at all possible. So questions, comments, thoughts?
Questions from the board?
No, I do want to just add that I think this is a solid document that the public can understand and digest and relate to. But also in our committee meeting, Judge Salinas brought up a good point of assuring that we also have some type of maybe visual and audio representation to make the strategic plan fully accessible to everyone. So that's it. But thank you, Garrett.
Thank you, Dr. Jett.
Thank you, thank you, Garrett. Dr. Jett, anything further from the committee?
No.
Okay. We'll move on to item number 10, the Library Foundation update. Reverend Robinson.
Thank you, Judge Salinas. Every month, the Library Foundation provides an update to the Library Board. The Foundation would like to thank all Library Board trustees for the commitment to the library and support of the Library Foundation over the past year. We hope you've had a happy and healthy holiday season. The Library Foundation wrapped up the 2020 staff campaign, Back to the Future. This campaign raised $20,834 from 150 donors. Thank you to all the staff who participated. We would also like to thank the following library staff for serving on the staff campaign committee this year: Katie Bulloff, Nicholas Calvert, Mike Coughlin, Emma Williams, Cordia Watkins, Joanne Emmert, Stacy Terrell, Emily Lynn, and Mike Everett. The foundation thanks 200 donors who made gifts this last month. The following are our top corporate foundation contributors. If you should have an opportunity to thank these donors, we would be grateful. Buckingham Foundation, Clark, Quinn, Moses, Scott, and Graham, Cortiva, PNC Foundation, Powers and Sons Construction, Rich Charles, Salesforce, Wurtzer Construction Company. This month, we are proud to provide funding to restore the Monument Circle Public Collection Book Sharing Station and install it on the west lawn of Central Library. Supporters include Herbert Simon Family Foundation and the Buckingham Foundation. Judge Salinas, that ends my report for this month.
Thank you, Pastor Robinson. Any questions from the board with respect to the Library Foundation update? Seeing none, we'll move up to item 11, report from our Chief Executive Officer.
Thank you, President Salinas. I have only one action item for you this evening, and that is Resolution 65-2020. This is our routine monthly resolution to authorize financial actions, personnel changes, and any travel. There is no travel this month included in the resolution, but you do have in your packets item 11-A that outlines the bills that we've paid and the personnel changes that we would appreciate your approval for.
Okay, before we get to discussion, is there a motion to approve resolution? Well, hang on, before we get to that, any questions from the board to Jackie? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve resolution 65-2020?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
Okay. Any further discussion on this resolution? Seeing none, can we have a call to roll, Angie?
Mr. Biederman,
Approve.
Mr. Bigsby,
Approved.
Dr. Jett,
Approved.
Dr. Murtada,
Approved.
Ms. Payne,
Pat, you're muted.
Approved.
thank you. Reverend Robinson
Approved.
and Judge Salinas.
Approved.
Thank you.
Motion carries. Jackie?
I would like to take just a moment. It's not on the agenda, Judge, but if you are willing to entertain a couple of comments about our plans moving forward regarding the COVID conditions. Most of you have had a chance to provide some feedback to me about the emails that have gone back and forth in the last 2 weeks. We are moving forward with the changes in service that will significantly reduce the amount of public in our buildings. We're going to be watching door counts, of course, because the only people coming in now will be those who are coming for their 1 hour of computer time, and they will come in only if there is an available computer. There will be no ganging up or hanging around while you're waiting for your turn. We'll see how that goes. The staff have implemented a number of practices that I think will help to make sure this is safe. One of them, this is kind of curious, is the use of laser pointers. The public often has many questions for our staff when they're doing something on the computers, because if they're coming in to use library computers, they are often folks who are not as familiar with doing things on the computer or as comfortable. And so in order to maintain a safe distance while working with the public, our staff has been provided face shields if they want those, in addition to their face masks, and laser pointers so they can literally point to things on the screen for people without having to spend so much time standing too close to a patron. There's a list of 5 or 6 other things like that, including some remote control software possibilities and things. So we're really taking the staff up on any of the ideas that they've been able to identify that can help them assist the public safely. We will also be keeping an eye out for any changes in our numbers. You are now seeing the snapshot each week. That should be updated for you tomorrow on what our staff experience is. I want to thank Dr. Jett for the idea of having that snapshot. That was something we pretty much stole from Butler University. And so it's, I think, giving us a chance to be very transparent to the public as well as the staff. And we'll keep an eye on those numbers. One thing we're watching now, not only the public areas that we've spent so much time talking about, but we're also watching areas such as the Library Services Center, where we don't have exposure to the public, but we do in fact have a lot of staff members. And so we are monitoring the staff situation to make sure if there is any increased exposure in the weeks ahead. And if so, we will need to make other accommodations about how many staff are even allowed in the building. We have a lot of people working at home. We are watching the number of staff who are requesting leaves of absence, because that, of course, affects our ability to staff any of our functions if more people need to be away to help with their family or their children. So we'll be monitoring those things and providing you with some updates.
I realized this was not an item on the agenda, so this was just an update. Thank you for that, Jackie. If the board has any quick comments or questions, please feel free. I understand, and this is an evolution. I think we need to look at this on an as-needed basis. I like that snapshot idea from Butler. Questions or comments? Thank you. We'll move on to Jackie. Anything else?
No, sir.
Okay. All right. We'll move on to item 14. Future. There's no new business. Future agenda items. Again, this time is made available for discussion. Items that are not on the agenda. Well, that was one of them right there. If any of the board members have items they wish to consider for the future, please feel free to email me or other board or fellow board members or Jackie. We'll be happy to consider that when needed or as needed or when time allows. Our next meeting, when is January 25th? I anticipate it's still going to be a Zoom meeting. That's why I'm keeping my fingers crossed on that one. Okay. Everyone, it's going to be 6:30. Unless there's further discussions, you guys be safe. Happy Merry Christmas and be safe.
Come on, Jose. You got to say it with more enthusiasm than that.
Oh, okay. Fair enough.
Come on.
I'll give you that one. Well, hey, happy Merry Christmas.
Happy holidays.
Happy
Enjoy
Hanukkah,
the restful winter break.
Stay safe.
Be
Stay
safe.
safe.
All right.
Absolutely.
God bless you all. And Happy New Year, too,
Thank
as
you
well,
all.
guys.
Thank you.
Adios, guys. Be safe.
Enjoy.
All right.